This morning, folks, authorities are trying to determine what motivated a seemingly normal couple to go on a rampage in California. In the wake of Wednesday's attack that left 14 dead and 21 injured, investigators have found no manifesto, no hard drive in the killer's computers, and 2 cell phones that were destroyed. The assailants did their best to fly under the radar as well. Their landlord, Doyle Miller, said that the couple was, quote, no cause for concern. Miller continued, quote, he had no red flags whatsoever. Everything checked out. He had good credit reports, everything. Additionally, an attorney for the family, Mohammed Abershad, said that the family knew the couple, quote, had a couple of handguns, that he was a registered owner, and that they were reportedly kept locked up. So, big question this morning, and some developing news here we'll share in a second. Was it terrorism? Was it a workplace dispute? The assailant was once in a, quote, heated, passionate discussion about religion with a coworker, Nicholas Thalassinos, rather. He was a devout Messianic Jew, and Thalassinos, unfortunately, was one of the victims who lost his life in Wednesday's rampage. The couple was also known to have traveled to Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. However, the Muslim religion does require followers to complete a pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia once in their lifetime. Investigators are exploring a potential connection between the killers and an individual with possible terror connections. However, the possibilities are many. Concrete answers are few as we try to understand this latest tragedy, this latest senseless tragedy in America. So, as I said, breaking news about a half hour ago, CNN was reporting, and this is quoting CNN.com, as the San Bernardino attacks were happening, investigators believe the female shooter posted on Facebook pledging allegiance to ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. This is from 3 U.S. officials familiar with the investigation. So again, this is from CNN. They are finding direct links now, or at least allegiance support with ISIS. So this is leading the investigation a little closer to an act of terrorism. Because when you look at the facts on this, you look at the amount of ammunition, the tactical gear, the forethought that goes into making something like that happen. This wasn't just a crime of passion.
Exactly, and that was one of the things I personally was dreading, because it didn't really make sense. You know, they were saying there was a dispute at this holiday gathering. It didn't make sense with what they found, that he just went outside, came back in. I mean, they found 12 pipe bombs in his house. You know, like this definitely had a lot of thought going in behind it. I mean, at least we're starting to know a little bit more, so hopefully we will get to some sort of solution, if you want to call it. I mean, which shouldn't even be something we had to talk about anyways, but it's disheartening, you know, especially because it seems so random. But
yeah, and that's the thing that's really strange, because, you know, by all accounts, I mean, they're really having to dig to find any ties to radical Islam. They were not on any watch list. So they are now really having to dig for this, and it brings up this question of, you know, we have painted a sort of picture in the United States, and really globally rather, of, you know, these lone wolf terrorists that they can potentially be tracked down. Well, this kind of breaks the mold on both the, you know, the crime of passion, rampage killer, the terrorist. It's a sort of an amalgam of the two, which is really scary, because that is very difficult to predict.
Yeah, well, and second too, you know, they did die, so we can't hear from them. We won't know really what they have to say.
But the fact that the hard drive, it was physically removed, they cannot find the hard drive from the computer. Both their cell phones were found near the scene of the crime, smashed, destroyed. So they were covering their tracks. There was method to this.
Suspicious for
sure. So yeah, really, really scary stuff. Of course, you know, as I said, this is just now developing about the female assailants' support of ISIS. So stay tuned to KRQE.com. Tune in later on today at 12, 4, 5:30. 9, 10, 9 here on Tukasa to find out the latest.
And continue to send your thoughts to those families of the 14 who did pass away. All right, moving on to this. NASA took a rain check on yesterday's scheduled space launch in Florida. The launch of an orbital sciences mission to the International Space Station was scrubbed in the late afternoon. The cause? Inclement weather, preventing a safe launch. This mission to the space station is the 4th contracted mission under the agency's commercial resupply services contract. The spacecraft will carry more than 7,000 pounds of science and research, crew supplies, and vehicle hardware to the orbital laboratory. That's in support of about 250 science and research investigations that will occur during expeditions 45 and 46 in space. Now, the launch hopes to make it a go this afternoon. We'll kind of have to see what happens there. But you definitely don't want to be sending those things up in storms.
Yeah, it's
That's
got to
for
be.
sure.
It's got to be perfect weather. You know, and I've always been kind of curious when they launch from Florida, and you might have insight to this. Why they choose Florida? Because it would seem to me that Florida.
Yeah, me too. Is not exactly a good idea. I mean, they see kind of like during our monsoon season,
Yeah.
daily thunderstorms,
Yeah.
especially during the summer. So maybe they do a lot of it during the winter. I haven't done a whole lot of research on when these launches go, but I would think maybe it's during not in the summer.
calmer
So
parts.
spring, yeah, maybe a little bit of spring and winter. Because, I mean, you can see it on the map. Florida's definitely warm and sunny during this time of year,
Yeah,
unlike New Mexico.
That's true.
But it's funny though because it does have to be just right. It's kind of like Balloon Fiesta,
Right.
really, when you think about it. Any sort of disturbance around the state, you know, if we see something coming in, it raises a red flag. But I appreciate the fact that they'd rather be safe
Oh,
than
absolutely.
sorry. But
Absolutely. Make
especially
sure that
when
these astronauts
they're
come back
coming in
safe.
with stuff that those guys need up there. So,
Absolutely, yeah, because it's not just the astronauts on board that. I mean, it's the astronauts at the space station that are dependent on
yeah,
this.
so cool. I could read about this stuff all day though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
told you if I didn't do it, I'd be an astronaut. I think it's awesome.
There you go. There you go. You're a braver gal than I.
But I'm stuck on Earth for a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That makes two of us. That
Yeah,
makes two
right.
of us. All right. Well, last but not least, this morning, this one really kind of sad. This is one of my rock and roll heroes. We have lost one of the greats, folks. Scott Weiland, who's the frontman for Stone Temple Pilots, and Velvet Revolver, was found dead in his tour bus on Thursday. Weiland was on tour with his latest band, Scott Weiland and the Wildabouts, in Minnesota at the time of his passing. Now, Weiland, of course, he has battled addiction throughout his life. This was not a big secret. However, at the time, there was no confirmation that drugs were involved. He passed away in his sleep. Scott Weiland, just 48 years old.
Wow.
He was, you know, one of the great rock and rollers. In fact, we, you know, our editor Kenny and I were just talking about him the other day and talking about, you know, there was this kind of, you know, there was Pearl Jam that did this sort of deeper rock and roll kind of voice, and Scott Weiland came out, Stone Temple Pilots came out, and it really, you know, propelled the sort of the grunge genre. I mean, they weren't a Seattle grunge band, but they really had that sound.
Yeah.
A very just sort of deep, dirty rock and roll sound. I got to see them live when they were on tour, I think for their second album at the Convention Center. One of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Really?
They were phenomenal. They were at their prime when I got to see them. And when I woke up this morning, you know, reading through the headlines of the day and seeing that Scott Weiland had passed, it's sad.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
and
was definitely an idol back in the day.
Yeah, you think about it too. I mean, some of those guys live such a crazy lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know.
How is Keith Richards still alive? That's amazing to
Any
me.
of them, really. I mean, get cranky when I don't get enough sleep. Those guys go
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
you know? And they're screaming, they're performing, you know, all these different tours. It's crazy. I mean, so it is really sad to
Yeah.
see one of those.
Yeah, a
guys.
great voice. I mean, he was just, and he was so like, he was such an iconic front man. I mean, he had such charisma. He wasn't just a great singer, but he had great charisma.
Yeah.
He was a great songwriter, very poetic lyricist. So definitely rock and roll going to mourn the passing of Scott Weiland.